Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. Let's get started with the story of the week.
So this Brazilian model went on Instagram, filmed herself doing a skincare routine. I mean, I must see this 50 times a day just scrolling. How about you?
Yeah, totally.
So in the video, she goes in her fridge, grabs this clear container out of the fridge that has this brown substance in it. So then she goes to her bathroom in the video, takes like one of those popsicle stick, whatever, things that people use for lotion, puts it in the tube, takes it out, and starts putting it on her face. And either at some point in the video or in the caption, she reveals that it's her own poop.
Yeah, she's... Listen, this chick is like totally attention-seeking, right? Because I think that she went viral in the past for doing a facial with her own menstrual blood. So
Yeah.
this was like, okay, like how could I one-up that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she should have started with something like a little bit simpler so she didn't just achieve the top level of views in her very first post. But yeah, so she says that she read a study that it was good for you and that her skin is less flaky, and I just call bullshit on the whole thing. And it's just really bad that she's got a lot of followers and she's telling people to do this.
Well, yeah, and all these doctors that were interviewed for this article are like, there are no studies suggesting this is beneficial for you at all. If anything, it's very dangerous to do.
Yeah, because your poop has E. coli in it, and it could have all sorts of viruses and parasites. I mean, most people probably shouldn't have parasites in their poop, but you could in theory. And you have scratches all over your face, especially if you get zits and you pick them or something like that, or you have any kind of a scratch. It's just going to introduce these pathogens directly into your body. And now not only are you going to have skin problems, but you could have systemic problems as well. I don't even believe that it's poop. I don't even believe it. I think that she put like chocolate pudding or something on her face. She was like real dramatic and put a nose plug on and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just like, if it's your own poop, like why? What's the difference? Like,
well, she
come on.
didn't put a nose plug on. Also, well, she put like a clothes hanging,
like a clothespin,
yeah,
like some like obnoxious thing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but she didn't put it on until after she put the mask on. And I'm sorry, but it smells the whole time. It's like, has anybody smelled poop out of the toilet water? It's one of the most foul smells on the planet. Like, you're not just casually rubbing it on your face. Nothing makes the smell go away.
I'm curious how many views that video got, actually.
Also, like, even
because that was the goal, right? And she achieved it, because I'm sure people, I don't know, like, just looking at it, I'm like, that doesn't really look like the texture of poop. It would more look like if you made brownie batter and then smeared it on your face. I mean, poop can be in all different consistencies and stuff, but if she's just having normal shits, like, I think it wouldn't like spread like that. You know what I mean?
I think she really pooped in the little jar, but I don't think that was the same substance she was taking out. It's called like, making movie, camera magic.
Yeah, I just think it's like Duncan Hines poured into a specimen cup to make it look like poop, and it's just not, but whatever. It's just, the thing is that I guess when I saw it, it looked like it had a couple thousand views at that point. I don't even know how much more it is at this point, but there has to be some people that are watching it that think that she looks good for her age or whatever, and they think that this is something that they should try.
Well, she's my age, and I'm like, she looks like my age, and I don't put any shit on my face, literally. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And who wants to be known as the poop girl or the girl that smeared period blood on your face? It's very bizarre.
It's bizarre, but at the same time, one of the most famous woman in the world right now is the girl that was talking about a vulgar way of giving blowjobs. So anything is possible in this world right now. Like, you think about all the women in this world that are doing great things that for society, contributing to society, for science, for academia, anything like that. And that's the kind of woman that's getting, rising up, right? So, like, why not try it at this point, right?
I don't know. Like, truly could never be me. I would never. there just has to be a point where you're so desperate for skincare. I don't know. I can't ever see being this desperate to age in reverse. I'd rather look old.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, if there was a miracle thing that could make me not age, but it required me pooping in a cup and wiping it on my face, I just think I would just be old. I would just draw the line there.
Exactly. It's just like, how far are you going to take it? Relax.
Okay, celebrity news.
So we have an update about Matthew Perry. So new info has come out about his death, and now arrests have been made, which is very interesting. So 5 people have been arrested in connection to his death. One of them was his personal assistant, Kenneth, 2 doctors, one who worked at an urgent care, and another one who had previously ran a ketamine clinic, a suspected broker named Eric Fleming, and then this woman named Jasveen Senga, who has been, deemed by the media as the ketamine queen.
I love that people are getting in trouble for this, and it seems like they messed with the wrong family, especially when his stepdad is like the ultimate in true crime, figuring things out, and has a lot of connections, right?
Yeah.
So I love that they're actually getting people to take responsibility for this, because I'm sure right now we have listeners that have lost a loved one because of a drug overdose, and you most certainly, ultimately you say it's their fault for taking it and stuff, but there's probably so many situations like this where there are other people that should be held accountable for selling the drugs or tainting the drugs or anything like that. And it just seems like no one ever gets in trouble for anything. So I think it's cool that they actually followed through with it. And really some of the things they found in the investigation are pretty shocking.
Yeah. So from what I understand, Matthew was undergoing these ketamine treatments, and that came up like he had an infusion, but his levels were too high the day he died. So they knew it wasn't from the treatments he was getting. So that's when the doctors got involved. So the 2 doctors were working together to sell the drugs to him, even though they heard his addiction to ketamine was spiraling out of control. So then, in any criminal investigation, they're going to look at some text messages, and these are really disgusting. So one of the doctors texted the other and said, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay," and then said, quote, "Let's find out," which that's disgusting.
Yeah, and that alone is incriminating to me, and I definitely think that think about what a sick person you are, that you're trying to make money off of a human being that's struggling from addiction and taking advantage of him, clearly because he's known to be wealthy, you know?
Yeah, and so that's when the other 2 come in, this broker and the ketamine queen. So apparently in the 2 weeks leading up to his death, they were rejoicing on the fact that he was relapsed and just was totally spiraling out of control, as they said. So it's approximated that he had spent $11,000 just in the 2 weeks leading up to his death on 50 vials of ketamine from these people.
It's really disgusting. So they're sitting back and getting enjoyment, like, okay, so we're going to make a lot of, it's not like, oh, you made some awesome product and you're having good results as sales. It's like you're literally watching someone fall apart and taking advantage of that, and then being happy that you're becoming rich because a person is growing with their addiction. It's so weird.
Yeah, so basically they're saying that the day of his death, his assistant had injected him with the ketamine, and that ketamine that killed him was from this ketamine queen and the broker, and that the syringes and instructions on how to inject the ketamine were provided by the 2 other doctors. So everybody's kind of involved in this day of his death. And it seems like they knew they were guilty and were trying to take steps to hide what they were doing. They were texting each other to delete text messages between one another and, not really being forthcoming with information, which is really disturbing.
I don't understand why. Aside from the fact that it's weird that you're profiting off of that, really, what I really don't understand is like what did they think was going to happen?
I don't know. And
are they shocked that he died?
Well, apparently in 2019, this ketamine queen lady, I'm only referring to her as that because her name's kind of hard to say, and we all know have pronunciation
ketamine
issues.
Queen is just better anyway.
Yeah.
So
this ketamine queen lady, she apparently is responsible for this other guy's death in 2019, and she, I guess at some point, either after that death or after Matthew's death, was Googling if you could be responsible for somebody's death for providing them with the drug, which clearly she is. And it looks like everybody involved in this case is making a plea deal except for her, and they're all facing over 10 years in prison because of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So he had, I mean, just to sum up what happened to him, he was taking ketamine from a doctor, and when you get the medicine from a doctor as a form of therapy for anxiety and depression, it's at a very low, like what they call a micro dose. But then when he died and had the autopsy, he had these levels that were just so high that they knew that he was also had to be getting it from someone else, right? So what they decided happened at the autopsy was that he took these higher doses of ketamine, which has a toxic effect on the heart if you're taking it in too high of levels. And his heart was already compromised because he had this history of addiction and alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and it just took a toll on him. It made him pass out or have like respiratory depression. And he so happened to be in the hot tub at the time. So he went underneath of water. And while he was unconscious, that's when the water entered his lungs. And that ended up killing him, that he drowned because he wasn't able to pull himself back up out of water like a normal person would when they go underneath the water. So if, like, let's say, for example, he was sitting on his couch and someone was near him and called 911 right away, he would probably be still alive, honestly.
The whole thing is scary. I am really happy to see people are finally getting in trouble for this. You know, everybody that was involved is getting in trouble that day, including the assistant for injecting him. So I think this is interesting to see where this is going to go because, you know, lots of celebrities and lots of people in general die from drug overdoses. So somebody has to be held responsible.
It happened with Michael Jackson that they were held accountable. What was his name? Conrad Murray actually he at least, I think, got convicted of homicide. His death was considered to be a homicide, not intentional, of course, but he died at the hands of another. And I mean, this is the risk you take, I guess, when you're one of these people that are giving famous people this, what I call VIP treatment, you know, that if they die, you're going to be, I mean, you might end up getting rich. And I'm sure there's tons of doctors that are getting rich off of these people. But like, if they die, you're going to be in extra trouble because it's such a high profile death, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, get into the next story. We had a celebrity death this week.
So about a month ago, Jack Russell, who is the lead singer of Great White, announced that he was retiring due to a recent diagnosis, and he has just died at age 63.
So he's from a band called Great White. I'm sure everyone knows about this band, not because of their music, but more because of the tragedy that happened back in 2003. I guess that's for people that are older, like me. You probably don't remember this because you were still kind of young when this happened. But there was a really Great White is a band, and they were playing, and there was a fire at the nightclub that they were playing at that was the fault of I believe it was their band manager who had set off fireworks or pyrotechnics on the stage, and it caught the soundproof foam in the place that they were having this event at on fire. And the way that it was set up and all of the people in the audience were not able to exit the fire. I think that the building didn't have the proper exits, or just like everybody ran towards the one door. And not only did people die because of, you know, carbon monoxide and burns and things like that from the fire, but also just from getting trampled on each other. And 100 people actually ended up dying at this. So it was huge because it wasn't in the 1800s or something. It was in 2003. So this definitely shouldn't have happened. But of course, the band got super big headlines after that happened, and he ended up surviving that fire, and now
one of their
died pretty early.
Yeah, one of their guitarists died in that fire too, which I hadn't heard.
Oh God,
before.
that was just such a terrible thing. The whole thing of it, and just we've never really talked about it that much in the gross room, right? I feel like we've brought it up before, but it's just a really interesting thing. It even goes to the psychology of people, how like most of the people went out the same exit, even though there were other exits that were clearly, you know, it's just that group think mentality of like, well, everyone's going that way, I should go that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so anyway, he had this thing called Lewy body dementia, and that's been in the news a lot because Robin Williams had that. And Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls, who we love, Sophia, that's how she died as well. And we talked about that in both of their celebrity death dissections because we did one on Robin Williams. So he didn't actually end up dying from Lewy body dementia, but he was having some of the side effects from it. And they think that maybe that was the reason that that he died by suicide that could have contributed to that. And then Estelle Getty as well. I did a 4-part celebrity death dissection on all of the Golden Girls, so that's how she died too. But basically, it's kind of a combination of dementia and Parkinson's. You get the symptoms of Alzheimer's, which is the memory loss thing, and then you get some of the symptoms with Parkinson's, which would be like the shuffling gait and the tremors and things like that. So what happens is it causes muscle weakness, and then the person has the inability to breathe correctly, and then when they're eating or drinking, they could aspirate food or inhale it into their lungs, which could then, if food gets stuck down inside of your lungs, it could cause bacterial growth, and you could get an infection or a pneumonia and end up dying from that. So that's probably what happened with him.
Yeah.
It does. There's other people that have been in the news lately that I highly suspect have this, by the way, but I won't say who it is.
We could talk offline about that.
Everyone could just create their own theories. All right. Freak accidents.
So in February, we had talked about this woman who died from a severe allergic reaction after she ate at a restaurant in Disney World. So just to refresh everybody, this woman had been highly allergic to dairy and nuts. Her husband said that they chose this one particular restaurant in Disney World because they apparently were really good with accommodating allergies, but clearly not in this case because she was exposed to it and died from it.
I'm going to go ahead and still say this, that I don't think that any place should be responsible for food allergies.
Yeah, they can try their best, but...
They could try their best, but ultimately, I think that should just be... I feel like Disney should have a clause because they have just so many people visiting there. And I know that you're kind of trapped in their little land and you have to eat there if there's food, but I think if you have something that causes such a severe anaphylaxis that you really have to take control of this yourself and bring your own food. And Disney should allow people to be able to bring in their own food in these situations. It's not possible for the thousands and millions of people that go through there that they can be responsible for any kind of weird allergy a person has. It's just not, it's not fair to them. It's not fair to any restaurant. I don't think it's fair.
Well, here's where it starts getting absolutely ridiculous, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. So in May, right when it happened, they filed a wrongful death lawsuit, the husband. So in May, Disney had pushed for the case to go to arbitration, which is where you would sit down with a third party to negotiate the lawsuit instead of bringing it to a court. So they are arguing that they have to do this because in 2019, her husband set up a free trial to Disney Plus, and in the fine print of that trial, it said, quote, "Any dispute between you and us, except for small claims, is subject to a class action waiver and must be resolved by individual binding arbitration." So they also said that he agreed to similar terms when purchasing the park tickets for this trip that they were on when she died.
See, this is where the shit gets crazy because how many of us have a Disney Plus account or have bought tickets? Nobody ever reads the fine print like that, right? So now this is what I'm getting from this, that any single person that tries to sue Disney that has either bought the tickets online, which everybody does, because how else do you get in there? I don't even know. Can you just go?
I think you can go up to the box office, but I think
who does that?
Well, I think you would still, they have the little screen. I think you would still have to agree to some terms when you're purchasing them.
Yeah. So regardless, every single person that goes to Disney World or has ever had a Disney Plus subscription can't sue them. They have to go through this arbitration and stuff like that. They can't, that would just be almost every single person that goes there.
Yeah. So
it's kind of genius on the part of the business to do that, because you have all these people signing a contract saying, hey, like we're going to have to go through things our way because you signed this thing. But I can't imagine that would really hold up. Would it?
I cannot imagine this is going to hold up. So the husband's lawyer said, quote, "The notion that terms agreed to by a consumer when creating a Disney Plus free trial account would forever bar that consumer's right to a jury trial in any dispute with any Disney affiliate or subsidiary is so outrageously unreasonable and unfair as to shock the judicial conscience, and this court should not enforce such an agreement." And I have to agree. I think that's absolutely crazy to be like, well, you signed up for this subsidiary as ours, so whatever happened to you in another spot, we're not responsible for either.
How could they even put terminology in there legally that has nothing? Like, I would think if you're signing up for Disney Plus, all the terms you're agreeing to are specific to Disney Plus. Like,
yes.
Okay, we're going to raise your subscription every year without telling you, whatever that crap is, right? How does a lawsuit with an incident at the park have anything to do with you sitting at home and watching a movie on TV? I don't understand.
I can't imagine exactly what you're saying. Like, I can't imagine that that's legal or allowed, or maybe there's, you know what I'm thinking? There's probably some crazy loophole where they're allowed to do this and like we're just not hip to it. But then again, how many other people have died at Disney World and have sued Disney World since Disney Plus came out? Why is this the first we're hearing of this fine print?
Maybe because this case is more high profile, or maybe the people just, if you go to Disney and say, hey, I'm suing you because my kid got their finger amputated on a ride, then Disney's like, here, I'm going to throw you $100,000, go away. And then that's
But why
the end
aren't
of it.
they
You don't
doing
hear
it in this case?
I don't know, because I mean, like, listen, like, honestly, I don't think Disney should. I feel bad that the guy lost his wife and stuff, but I just don't think it's Disney's fault.
Listen, I really need to become friends with a lawyer or something, because I need like
we are friends with a lawyer.
No, I know, but I need somebody I can like go to dinner
write down
with.
your questions for her when we go to dinner with her next week. And
Okay,
you can ask her.
Oh.
I mean, seriously though, I don't. You could take that one, like. What if the lady didn't know she had a food allergy and died? Like, I don't know. I just think that it's
she
not,
knew because
it's not,
they said they went out of their way to go there because of the allergy accommodation.
Yeah, I just don't see. I can't see how they could be responsible for that, because then this is the same thing. If a kid goes on the ride and has a known heart condition and has a heart attack, can you sue Disney? No, like you already. You can't even sue them if you didn't know you had a heart attack. Like, it's natural. She would, if this lady was this sensitive, she was going to die at some other point somewhere else. You cannot just like avoid stuff like that if you're going out in public. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Listen,
if she wants to stay in her house for the rest of her life, like, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, when I go to the Phillies game, right? I like house a half a bag of peanuts and drop the shells all over the ground, because that's like what we do, right? So if a person comes and sits in my seat 2 days later and there's like a drop of a peanut shell around and has a reaction, they could sue the Phillies. Like, come on. It's not, you can't live like that. It's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time, and like, I don't even know whether or not I agree with the lawsuit itself, but this whole like Disney Plus fine print, I'm like,
yeah, that shit's outrageous.
No, this is outrageous. So the next hearing is on October 2nd. I don't know if we'll cover it as a full story again like this, but I will try to keep an eye out for it and give an update to everybody listening, because I'm interested to see if the judge is going to go forward with this.
Yeah.
All right, so our next story, over the weekend in Texas, a dad was driving with his 2 kids, which were age 1 and 4. They were on the highway and hit another car, which flipped their car over and ejected the toddlers onto the highway.
The video is so outrageous. You just see these 2 cars flipped over. It's on the highway or freeway. What is the freaking difference between a freeway and a highway anyway? Is it just terminology?
I don't know.
Because when you live in New Jersey, we don't use the term freeway.
I don't know.
We just call it a highway. It's either like a street or a highway, right? Or road or whatever.
I don't even think we say highway. We just address it by the number.
I think like 42 though is like considered a freeway. I don't know the difference. Who cares? Anyway, I just think it, because when you go to California, that they say freeway and then you get on it and you're like, this looks like 95 or 42. Like, it's the same shit.
So after the accident, this guy,
but it's a major road with cars that go really fast.
It's a highway.
That's all we want to say.
It's a highway-like road. So I don't know if you saw this, but the person that took the video after, last name was Cordova, which we've just said is one of Pop-Up's #1 mispronunciations.
Oh, and what Cordova is what he said. Yeah, because
that's what he calls cadavers.
Oh, cadavers. Okay. I thought that was what he was calling coronavirus.
No, he calls coronavirus COVID.
Oh, Kovic, yeah.
No, he calls cadavers Cordovas. So
Why is Pop-Up even talking about cadavers?
I don't know, but it's come up multiple times. Who knows? And
Okay.
all this intel I get is from Louis. Anyway, Mr. Cordova takes this video after the accident, and it's a very disturbing scene because children are ejected from the car, but they're thrown out of the car, they're on the street, and then they get up and they're running around in their diapers on the highway.
There's 2 children, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, completely naked except in a diaper, no shoes, nothing, and in the middle of a highway. It's shocking.
So then you see in the video the dad gets out of the flipped over car and another man are like running to get the kids. Thank goodness nothing happened to them. No other car hit them. Everybody stopped.
They need to get investigated because something weird is going on.
It
there.
is because the dad's going to be investigated for the kids possibly not being properly restrained in the car.
Well, they definitely weren't restrained. They weren't in a seatbelt, and they most certainly were not in a car seat.
But at the same
which they
time,
should be.
because the car flipped over, were they better off getting ejected in that specific case? Because could they have possibly been crushed in their car seats?
It's possible, but that's not for you or I to determine. I'm
just curious.
I'm kind of, and this is where I look at things. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I've heard about this several times of children flipping out. I'm more kind of like, what's going on in that house that the children are in the car, not wearing any clothes, no shoes, especially like a 1-year-old, whatever, but like a 4-year-old. And why is a 4-year-old wearing a diaper? And they're both wearing diapers and no clothes. Like, I think that's just weird.
Yeah, they need to look into what's going on.
I don't think
here.
Like 4-year-olds shouldn't be, unless, I mean, obviously like kids have problems, some kids or whatever, but I'm just like a typical 4-year-old wouldn't be wearing a diaper like that. It's really, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me.
All right, the next story. So on a rainy day, a mom saw a video on TikTok about how to make this viral thing called candy grapes, which is essentially you just melt Jolly Ranchers down and dip grapes in them.
It's that shit Lillian wanted to make, that Tom Kulu shit.
Oh my God.
It's the same thing. It's like melted sugar to make like it's like a candy apple.
Okay, yeah.
That hardness, yeah.
Yeah, so this mom thinks it's, because it's a rainy day outside, it'll be something fun to do with her kid. So after they melt the Jolly Ranchers down, which I went on TikTok and looked up the videos, and pretty much all of them say you have to get the Jolly Ranchers to a boiling point, which is obvious because they have to be melted down and like loose enough so you could dip the grape in them. So after they take them out of the microwave, the kid is carrying the bowl of the melted Jolly Ranchers to the counter and like drops it or splashes it, and it got on his hand and started hardening immediately because that's what candy like that does when it gets cold.
It's so crazy because my kids, that was the biggest rage like a month ago. They were seeing all these videos on YouTube about making this thing called Tom Kulu, which is exactly what we're talking about. But that was cooking it on the stove. So they really wanted to do it, and we did it, and it just was like, weren't you over when I was doing it? Yeah. I feel like everybody was over that day. So you have to mix sugar and just like boil it until it turns into candy like that. And we did it with grapes, but I did it as the adult because I was like this. I don't know. I just was like, I'm not letting kids do this because it just seems like it's going to be a problem, right? So it ended up being a huge pain in the ass. And it was a huge mess to clean up. So the next time they asked me to do it, I was like, we're done with this experiment. Like I'm not doing this anymore, right? Lillian, the day I read this, and I put this story as one for us to talk about, Lillian sent me another video that they're improving it to do it in the microwave. So it's essentially going to be the same exact thing that we're talking about right now. And if you've ever, when you melt chocolate, not chocolate, like a hard candy, you have to get it to like over 300 degrees in order for it to become.
350 degrees is the melting point of candy.
So if you're thinking about putting something in the microwave that's going to get that hot, like what happens if you put a dish in the microwave for 3 or 4 minutes even? Like it's too hot to even touch. You know what I mean? To take it out with your hands. Yeah. So I think that maybe even this kid, when he took it out, like he realized that the container that he was holding was too hot, and that might be why he spilled it even.
Yeah, so he ended up getting second-degree burns because, when the candy started hardening, the mom immediately tried to get it off his hand to stop it from burning, and she did get it off, which doctors later said was the smart move because if she left it on, the burns could have been worse. But it was ripping his skin off and everything, so he had to get skin
Oh my
grafts.
God.
He's still not able to use his hand. I think the important lesson is we talk about so many TikTok things people are doing that are stupid. Like, I think this is a basic cooking video and you just have to apply regular logic to it. If you're melting something, it's going to be hot and you have to be extra careful about it.
Yeah, but they were saying that since these videos have been coming on TikTok and YouTube and stuff, that they've seen an increase of burns for this specific thing. So the malted hard candy in a couple adults and a couple of children, just one particular burn center. So they were giving some advice as to what to do when you get a burn, which I think a lot of people think that you should put ice on it right away. But they said that you should just run it under lukewarm water because you just want to cool the skin down. But they said that ice would actually damage the skin even more. But like Maria said, you definitely should get the candy off of the skin because it'll just continue to cook.
Yeah, everybody, you just got to be really careful with stuff like that. It's the same, you can really burn yourself melting chocolate and stuff too. You have to be so careful when you're doing stuff like this.
Yeah, just the kids, because the kids are at the age now, and this kid in the story is 9 years old. Like, they're at the age where they want to start being more independent and they want to learn how to cook and use the stove and make themselves lunch, make themselves pasta and stuff. But you just got to remember that they don't really understand what we understand. So, that's the lessons I'm always trying to teach. Like, make sure the arm of the pot is in because your clothes could hook off of it.
Yeah,
and make sure you're not.
I don't blame the kid for this happening. I'm saying, the fact that you said the burn center's reporting that a bunch of adults are going there with burns for this.
Yeah.
It's come on.
Well, because it's probably adults that don't cook often, that don't understand, right? It's just like you see this video and they do this and you're like, oh, I could do that. It looks easy because it does, but you don't think about all the other things that go along with it,
Because I feel bad for the mom in this case too. She's just trying to have a fun activity with her kid. And then I can see this going down so quickly. Like, she puts it in the microwave, turns her head for 1 second, and the kid grabs it thinking he's being a helpful hand. And
oh yeah,
then this goes down so fast.
And these are really the worst things that could happen to a parent is when your child gets hurt and it's like, kind of, you were supposed to be the adult in the room, but it just it happens all the time so quickly. Like, you can't. This is just life with a kid, right?
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, The Gross Room is on sale now for only $20. We don't really do it that often to put it on sale for $20 for the entire year, but you can get a whole 365 days of gross, and that includes daily posts, articles, photos, videos of all of these stories that we talk about. But in addition to that, you get to see all of the photos and videos that go along with this. And it's a lot to handle sometimes. So I'm warning you, the stories might be enough for you, but if you're really interested to see what all this stuff looks like, check out The Gross Room.
Visit thegrossroom.com for more info and to sign up.
All right, let's get started with true crime.
So a report came out last week that some college students were on vacation at a resort in Cancun, and at the bar, 2 of the girls ordered water, got really sick within minutes, and then became unconscious.
So they were with their boyfriends, or at least one boyfriend was there. They ended up getting them to a hospital because it seemed like the girls were really having a hard time staying awake, and one of them may have even been showing signs of having a seizure. So they were brought to the hospital, and I'm not exactly sure after reading the stories what happened that they came to the conclusion that they thought that they were slipped fentanyl in their drinks and they were drugged.
Well, it seemed like one of the girls ended up being okay and not admitted into the hospital, but they said she had a rough 24 hours after the incident. And then the other girl was admitted to the ICU, and I guess at some point she had been put on a ventilator, and she was they said she had up to 18 seizures while she was in the hospital. She eventually had to get transferred from a hospital in Cancun to one in Dallas, Texas. So they had suspected, because they couldn't find anything wrong with her, I guess, naturally, that they thought the drinks might have been spiked with synthetic fentanyl.
I don't know like where they came up with that though, because they were saying, so the investigators in Cancun anyway are saying like, no, we did drug testing and everything was negative. Now,
Yeah.
does that mean something that they totally somebody could have slipped something in their drink and it wouldn't have come up in the drug test because it doesn't test for every single possible substance out there, only the most commonly used ones. So there's that. And then the investigators in Cancun are saying that they probably just drank too much alcohol and that's all it was.
Yeah, and they also made sure to point out that they thought it was the result of them being too young and not knowing how to handle drinking, and that also they weren't staying at the resort, they were staying at a nearby hotel, and none of the families have come forward with, a lawsuit or anything against the resort or charges against the resort. So it's kind of all over the place, and I to your point, I don't know who said it was synthetic fentanyl specifically. A lot of the articles I was reading referenced doctors think, but I didn't read any specific doctor coming forward.
The mother
that.
also thinks that people were trying to drug them to steal them to harvest their organs.
Yeah, which I don't think you could just make that assumption.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a stretch. It's so I mean this would show up in urine or blood if they did a test for it, but I don't know because I don't know how things go down there. Obviously, the authorities in Cancun always will try to protect themselves because their whole entire like economy is based on travel, right? So you don't want to scare away American tourists if this was true. So they're going to, they're going to be like, no, this didn't happen, even if it did happen. But there's also a case that they were out in the sun, they were drinking too much, they were dehydrated, and like this is what happens. You know what I mean? So I don't really know because I didn't look at their blood work and stuff. I mean, this is all stuff that could be seen that if they had too much alcohol or something like that. So I'm not sure. But the scary thing is, I guess, is that how old were these people?
This is another thing. I think they were only 20, which I'm not sure what the drinking age is in Mexico, but...
So they shouldn't have been drinking anyway. This is what you're saying, like legally.
I don't know. I don't know if it's illegal in Mexico to drink under 21.
Yeah,
I would
don't
think
know
a
either.
resort may want to uphold that, but then again, like the drinking age in Europe is 18, so they're not going to ban everyone just because Americans can't get their shit together. Like,
I actually have a friend that their daughter went on a trip to Italy and drank and got like wasted, passed out, like didn't know who she was, like all this. It's kind of a similar situation, honestly. And it's because she's 18 years old. She's from America. She's never really drank like that. She goes on the trip. She's not even really interested in alcohol, but somehow ends up drinking there because, when in Rome. And like literally went in Rome. and her parents were freaking out about it because obviously like they're here and she's there and she's young and this is what happens when kids do this. So the parents, I mean, I would do the same thing. Like my kid's in a hospital in Mexico, I'm like calling everyone I know to try to get money to get this kid over to the United States, right? So they ended up paying over $60,000 to get this kid brought over back to the United States. I think the flight alone was almost $30,000. So now they have a GoFundMe set up to collect money to help them out for this. But I do think it's kind of weird that the parents aren't speaking since the authorities came out and said like, no, that didn't happen. And also not putting together some kind of lawsuit or trying to get something to happen because it's scary. And that happened to one of my classmates when we were in Vegas. She got drugged at one of the, we were at one of these nightclubs,
Yeah.
That I don't know when you went, but when we went, it would be like, you were walking down the street and they handed you these cards like, hey, you could get into this nightclub VIP, and we were all young and dumb and just like, oh really, we're so cool, we're so special, like and then you show up and then you have to pay to get in and all this crap. But we were all there regardless because we decided that was what we were going to do one night. And LP, like, someone slipped something in her drink and she was asleep in the freaking bathroom on the floor. Like, it was outrageous. She didn't even have a drink. Like, it definitely was somebody put something in her drink, right? And that was in America, so it could happen anywhere, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think it could happen. I just think that it's kind of weird that, you know, the investigators are kind of all over the place about it, because I don't think it was just the Cancun police saying it didn't happen. I feel like the State Department was also like, I think they just said, we're not making any comments until we have more information.
Yeah, so, I mean, really, in theory, if they... And I don't know how they do things in Mexico, but in America, sometimes if you take people's blood, like, it's sitting around in the lab for a little while afterwards. So you could always get it and test it here for things if you really are concerned about that. But I don't know. I think that some of the symptoms that they were having could be... This is like a common thing that happens, that you start drinking, you didn't eat anything, and then all of a sudden you drank way too much. And especially if they are 20, they might not drink like that here because they don't have access to it as much or something.
Well, I certainly don't think the family should be publicly going around saying that they thought the kids' organs were going to get harvested. Like, unless you have actual concrete evidence that was going down, I think you need to maybe keep it to yourself for now. But
the one article I was reading said that the mom was checking her body to see if she had incisions and had organs missing. I just think that's like a little like
chill out,
jumping the gun.
Yeah, chill out, lady. Like, yeah. Okay. And if you really feel the need to do that, keep it to yourself for now. Like, it just, you sound a little ridiculous. Like, sorry.
I mean, listen, like, it does happen.
I know it does happen, but you can't just jump to that conclusion.
It's not out of. It's just, you know, it's the same as you saying, like, don't let the kids walk to the pizza place because they could get kidnapped by a white van with a pedophile driving it. Like, it happens, but the probability of that happening is less. So it's just a mom being a mom. Like, you know what I mean? You hear stories, and you why not your kid, right? I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, if I even said all that stuff to you, like, I wouldn't be announcing that publicly. So I think it's like,
yeah,
calm down till there's more information. But let's get on to the next story. So in Russia, there was a chess championship tournament going on. Apparently chess in Russia is like really huge, which I never heard about before, but that's pretty cool. So
you never watched that episode of Saved by the Bell where they were having a chess competition, and then that person came in from Russia and was like really abrasive and came in and tried to beat Screech, and then Screech ended up winning.
I don't really like Saved by the Bell, so
what?
I don't like Full House either. Like, I just don't like shows like that.
How do you not like Full House?
Because it's stupid. It's lame. Like, the lessons.
It is lame, but it's like it's very. There's nothing to give you anxiety about it. It's just very like heartwarming, and
I'm a Seinfeld gal. I don't know what to say. I never got into Saved by the Bell.
I love Full House, and I love Fuller House too.
Full House used to annoy the shit out of me. They used to do reruns of it on ABC Family all the time, and I'd be forced into watching it. And I'm just like,
well, that shit came out when I saw it not rerun, and it was on this thing called TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. But they would put these shows on in a row. So I watched it and like the kids were my age, so it was just a relatable, it's completely not relatable though. Like, could you imagine my dad like vacuuming the house? Like that, he doesn't even know where the vacuum is, like, please. But yeah. It's still a good show.
He's going to yell.
I disagree.
He's going to find out all this stuff we're revealing about his life.
He is not even going to find out. He doesn't even know what a podcast is.
You know, I was fucking with him the other day saying Mom put a picture of him on Facebook, and he was like, no, she did it.
Oh, or saying like he hates when he hears my mom saying that people, like husbands and wives, have joint accounts. It'll just be like Lou Beth, you know, whatever. And so we'll just messing with him.
My mother-in-law followed me this morning with my stepmother-in-law followed me on Instagram this morning with a combo name.
What is that about? Because it's very specific to an age group too, usually.
Well, I sent it to Ricky, no
Do
context.
they not understand like how it works?
It's their email too. So like, I sent it to Ricky, no context, and he was like,
Wait,
no.
it's their email?
Well, it's like similar to their email. It's
Oh
like
my
two of
God.
their names together.
God, people like there needs to be some kind of checklist. You know how like when my kid wants to sign up for like Roblox or something that I have to approve it. It's like put in your parents' email. We're going to send them an email to make sure this is okay. They need to do this with old people and like joining Facebook too, because the shit they do. This is why they get preyed on, because they give all their information to people that are trying to steal their money.
Yeah. Well,
oh my God.
love you, Bits.
Wait, does she listen to the show?
I think she is now, so.
Well, come on, Bets. Come on. Come on, dude.
All right.
You're your own person. You don't need your husband to identify you, you know?
All right.
All right.
Let me gather myself. Quickly.
Thanksgiving's going to be real fucking awkward this year. Nobody's going to talk to us. We're going to have our own table at the end, even though it's your house. They'll eat all your food, but they won't talk to us.
Whatever.
All right. Go ahead.
How do they think that dinner's getting paid for entertainment? Okay. So in Russia, there was this chess championship going on. That was like the longest tangent we ever went on. So in Russia, there was this chess championship tournament going on that was supposed to be 5 hours long. So quickly into the 5 hour match, one of the competitors started feeling really sick, and she said, "In the first minutes, I felt a lack of air and a taste of iron in my mouth." And based on her symptoms, doctors had thought that she was a victim of a potential poisoning.
Yeah, so hold on. I'm here trying to look up what this chess player looks like because I feel like it was like you're just going to have to hold on. I can't talk right now because I just can't think, and you need to be able to see this. Oh, so that's what it was. It was Zach Morris was dressed up as a Russian playing Screech. So let me just show you this picture. He was the one that was playing chess. Okay.
This would never fly today.
I know, but like, look, let me give you the wide view so you could see them actually playing chess. All right. So I just had to get that out.
Wait, text me the picture because I'll use it for promo for this episode later.
So anyway, okay, Mercury. So let's talk about Mercury a little bit. It comes in different forms.
I didn't get there yet.
Oh. Go ahead. Sorry. Spoiler alert.
This is what happens when we record on a Friday. Our brains just are.
We normally record first thing in the morning, and I had a doctor's appointment, and then I had to take Lucia to the orthodontist today, and it's like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm just like I'm ready for the weekend to begin. But anyway,
okay. So I feel like I have to start this all over again. Chess tournaments happening, 5 hours long. Competitor starts feeling sick. She says she feels lack of air, taste of iron in her mouth. Doctors think she's suspected of being a poisoning victim. And then she remembers when they said that she saw these tiny little balls coming out from under her board, which poison, whatever metal you want to say it, forms these little balls, but mercury when it's in liquid form.
Oh my God. So, all right. So can we talk about mercury?
Yes.
So when Mom was a little kid,
they
used to break thermometers and get the mercury out of it because it's like this liquid metal. It's this really cool element that's like a cross between, it just looks like liquid metal. It's really cool. So kids would break a thermometer open and play with the mercury, right? And then they were like, wait a second, we should probably like frown upon that because that's not good because kids could die from that. So when you touch the one from the thermometer, it's probably not that bad, which is why like my mom is quote fine.
Okay.
But the problem is that the vapors from it is what could cause a lot of problems. It could cause respiratory failure even, and some of the symptoms that this woman was talking about having with the foul taste and everything like that is something that you would get from inhaling the vapors from that. So I don't know if this person just like broke a bunch of thermometers and decided like, hey, I'm going to put them around this chessboard and hopefully they'll touch it. It does come in other forms too, like you could get from the lab or something like that. But some of them in the other forms that you get it in, it is a problem with touching exposure, but it wouldn't present itself with symptoms for years. It would have to be like a chronic exposure rather than just a one-time thing. So based on the fact that it was this one-time thing, this is more than likely the source and the way that it looked like liquid metal, right? But then they were able to see videos of this person like putting stuff on the chessboard, right?
Yeah, so after they thought it was a poisoning and the girl was like, oh, I feel like I remembered seeing something weird, which, yeah, like seeing little silver, like liquid balls
That's
is weird.
Yeah, like you see that every day, right?
Yeah, so after that, they went back and checked the security footage and they see another competitor walking through the room setup, going over to that specific board and then brushing, which they later said was a like cut open thermometer along the board. And then she's like, you know, just sneaking her way out like nobody saw her or anything.
It's just really random. It's just, I mean, really, like, I don't think I mean, if you want to kill your opponent, that's a little excessive. I think sickening them might be more appropriate, but you want to kill them, whatever. That's like, why would you, when you look at that stuff, you look at it and you're like, it can't absorb in your skin because it beads. You know what I mean? Like, why would you use that? Like, clearly it can make people sick from breathing it in, but I just think there's 20 other things she could have used that would have been a little bit less conspicuous.
Well, she also like admitted that she wanted to take her out of the competition and she had personal problems with her, but that doesn't mean you just go poison somebody.
No, this is like some Nancy Kerrigan shit, just like taking your opponent out, right? Do you even know about that?
No.
She was an ice skater. I don't know the full story and we could look it up later, but she was an ice skater and Tanya Harding was her opponent and she was threatened by her and hired like a hitman to hit her in the leg with like a 2x4 or something. And I don't know if he broke her leg or he injured her or something, but like it was this whole thing that she was trying to take out her opponent. It was nuts. I don't remember like the full story because I feel like I don't remember when it happened, but I was younger, obviously, maybe in my teens or early 20s, but I remember it being like a huge scandal.
That it's just like, what are you doing? You're gonna get caught. So then apparently
this would be a good case to cover as a high profile dissection, actually.
we can. So then apparently it comes out later that she was asking them if the security cameras were running and they said no, but obviously they were, which it's like, if somebody's asking you if the cameras are on, is that not suspicious in itself?
Yeah, it is.
So she only put the mercury on the table 20 minutes before the match started. And, you know, now she's an idiot because, you know, not only is she facing 3 years in prison, which I don't think is that long of a time for, you know, attempted poisoning, but also she has a potential lifetime ban from chess. So good one.
3 years for attempted murder?
I think
a little light.
I think the lifetime ban from chess is going to be her bigger beef in the matter. So,
oh my God.
I don't know. Who does that? Like, relax. It's a game.
Yeah, but people get nuts. What do you want to say? It's true competition.
I don't know. All right. This next one is so horribly disturbing. So a couple weeks ago, this guy got really pissed at his wife. They hadn't spoken in about a week. So when he got home one day, his mother, his wife, and 3-month-old baby were all watching this church service on TV in their bedroom. So the guy comes in, takes the baby, closes the door. A half hour later, he returned to the bedroom and attacked the wife with a tire iron, fracturing her skull and cutting her. So then she drove herself to the hospital, and at this point, the police get involved.
Did the police pull her over because she wasn't driving well, or they
no, when
called
she
the police
got to
she got to the hospital?
Yeah, when she got to the hospital, that's when the cops got called, and they were like, well, where's the baby, right? So the baby is not with her and not with the husband or the mother.
So investigators go to the house, and they find a container next to a trash can, and it looks like, I would say, probably like a Tide container, an orange container, and inside, they find the baby dead inside of the laundry detergent container.
It's so horrible. So the baby had drowned in the laundry detergent, and they actually didn't find the baby right away. So they had searched the apartment initially and didn't find the kid. And then they found the dad separately, and he said he didn't know where the kid was, but knew he was okay. And he hoped that his wife would have died from the injuries. Real nice.
You know, when I first read this story, I thought, like, these investigators are freaking awesome. That they looked at something that looked like a piece of trash sitting there, and they decided to open the lid and look in there, because I think a lot of people may have saw that, like, oversighted that. You know what I mean?
Well,
just thinking it was.
Well, would it not have eventually started to smell?
It would, but I mean, if the investigators left there and they didn't take it with them,
Yeah,
it wouldn't smell for, especially like a baby like that. I mean, it wouldn't smell if the baby just was killed that day, right? Like it wouldn't be like that. And so what they do in that case is that they brought the baby to the medical examiner's office to see what happened, how the baby died, and they said they didn't see any signs of external trauma, but they did see signs that the baby drowned. So the guy put the baby in there alive, and it's smothered to death in the laundry detergent. Like, how gross is that?
it's really
his
disgusting.
child?
Yes.
Like, how? I don't even understand how you could be so pissed off at your wife or your girlfriend that you would want to hurt her by hurting an innocent little baby. And they were watching church.
Yeah, like they seem.
Like, how crazy is that?
I don't know. Clearly something's off, because you, don't beat people, and you certainly don't kill people, and you certainly don't kill a child in that manner either. It's horrible.
Yeah, he's really a gross person. It's kind of disturbing.
He should go to
I
jail
wonder if
forever.
something else is, like, going on. Like, I mean, whatever. People, he got in a fight with the woman, and they got in a fight. I mean, that happens all the time. It's like taking it to that next level is it's just weird, especially when it's your own baby.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about medical news.
In Florida, this doctor was scheduled to do 2 colonoscopies, so normally he would wear hearing aids, but he chose not to this day for whatever reason. So during the first procedure, not only could he not hear the techs communicating him, but he also let one of the surgery techs, like, handle the scope, even though they didn't have a medical license, which was really illegal. And then during the second procedure, he started inserting the scope before the patient was fully sedated. The patient starts screaming in pain, and he literally could not hear the person screaming because of the hearing aids.
Was there wasn't anyone else in the room during the procedure that heard this patient screaming?
They said there was texts and that they were trying to communicate with him that the patient was screaming, and he wouldn't stop.
See, this is how I don't believe that part of the story, because I think that whenever, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure of this, like, you know, when you go to the gynecologist and they make someone come in with them to watch them giving you an exam.
Yeah.
When you put a patient under like that, and you're especially doing a procedure where you're entering their rectum, and they're sedated, I'm pretty sure that there has to be someone in the room during that, right? There just should be anyway, just in case there's a problem or whatever. But do you think it's possible that because he was already breaking protocol by letting his techs do these procedures, that it's possible that no one was really in the room, and that's why it kept going on? Because, like, it doesn't make sense to me. I've seen colonoscopies a bunch of times. Like, all of the people are standing in the same vicinity. If you were standing right next to the doctor, you would just, like, bang his arm and be like, yo, like, even if he couldn't physically hear you. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And if the patient claims he was screaming, it's like, maybe it's because nobody was there and the guy just kept going.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. It seemed like, this guy was just not doing things the right way the whole time. Now, because of it, he's on probation and he has to pay some fines, but they have to, still look in further what happened and see if there was any other incidents that maybe weren't reported.
So let's say this guy pays fines, and then he starts doing colonoscopies again, like next week or next year, whatever, when he's done his probation. How does a patient know that this has happened in his past? Because that's if you Google search somebody to get a colonoscopy, it's not like that would come up right away, probably.
Well, it's not like I didn't write down the steps he has to take, but it's not as simple as like he just has to wait a period of time and pay the fines. Like he has to do, I think, one of 3 things to be approved to start working again, which is, I don't remember exactly what it said, but I believe one of them is having 10 procedures supervised by somebody that worked for the state board and like a bunch of other steps. So it's not like he just has to wait 6 months and then it goes away.
I mean, and this is something that's really dangerous for him, because when you do a colonoscopy, it's not like, yes, they're sticking a tube that's really smooth with a camera up there to look around to see if you have any polyps or cancer or anything like that. But you could kill somebody. I actually had an autopsy once on a person that got killed during a colonoscopy. You could perforate their colon. So if they have an area, especially that they have like diverticulitis or they have some kind of area of the wall that's weak, you can push the scope right through and perforate a person's colon and they could die from it. So you really don't want to just let like any old person do it if they haven't been formally trained to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's regulations to make sure that doesn't happen, and he wasn't regulating it. So
and think like when you're asleep and you're under anesthesia, to think that like these things are going on is just is really scary. You know what I mean?
yeah, for
And
sure.
like, why, if you're a doctor and you need hearing aids, it's like being a doctor and needing glasses, and you're just not going to wear your glasses before you do surgery. Like he should just get in trouble for that alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see in any circumstance at all why he wouldn't be wearing them. And like to your point, it's the same as glasses. Like, and if your glasses break or something happens to them, you can't do the procedures that day. Like that's that.
And I'm sure there's plenty of doctors that have vision and hearing disability, but they accommodate for that with whatever practice they have. So these types of things don't happen. So
yeah.
it's so weird.
So this next story, new research suggests that aging occurs in at least 2 accelerated bursts, not slow and steady as previously thought. So what does this mean exactly?
I love hearing this. This made my day, because so they're saying, most people think that you're born and, you're 1 year old, you're 5 years old, you're 10 years old. And like, as you age, you just slowly start growing and then aging, right? So when you're 20, then you're 30, you're just getting a little bit older, you're getting wrinkles and stuff like that as you get older. But this one, and not just physically, like what you see on the outside, but the inside of your body as well, your internal organs, your metabolism and things like that. And this study was done on 108 people, and it was just researching all of the different molecules in your body responsible for different things like metabolism, aging, wrinkles, this, that, and the other. And at first, when they looked at the women, there was this spike around 40 to 45 years old, and they attributed it to perimenopausal time. And for me, since I'm in this exact age, I could say like something happened this year that my body just like things changed for me, and I don't really know what happened. And I thought it was like, okay, I'm perimenopausal. And of course, I have lots of girlfriends that are also my age that also are all saying the same thing. So we're just like, okay, that's it. Like all of a sudden, like my fat is distributed weird, and I can't remember things. And like all of this stuff just like fell on me this year. I could like pinpoint it to December, actually. You know what I mean? It's like that crazy. And so at first, when they did this study, they were like, okay, it's perimenopausal stuff in women. But then when they looked at men who were the same exact age, they said that all of this stuff was like happening to them too. Not obviously not period stuff, but like other stuff, memory and metabolism and things like that. And now they're saying that there's also this big jolt of these things happening in the early 60s as well. So they think rather than aging slowly, you're really like you have this big, okay, when you're in between like 40 and 45 years old, this big jolt of like, okay, you're old. And I've said this to you several times, Maria, like I just like woke up this year and was like, I'm old now. And Gabe has said it too, right? And then it happens at 60 years old, and kind of in between, it doesn't really happen that much. It's actually funny because this one lady that we've been listening to on the radio for like 20 years in the morning, just on the local thing, you know, she was talking to some younger girl, and she's like, years ago, and I remember her saying, like, you won't believe it, like, you know, you kind of look in the mirror when you're in your 30s and stuff, and you think like, okay, like I look like I'm getting a little bit older, and then all of a sudden between the age of 40 and 45, it's like you see it. Like it happens like very fast. Like instead of it happening over the course of 5 years, it's like every day you look at yourself and you're like, holy shit, I look older. Like it just happens really, really fast.
I don't think that's the case for you because sorry to spoil your or whatever, put you on the spot, but you're turning 45 next week. And I don't think I look at you and I'm like, oh, damn, she's 45.
You might not think that, but like I look in the mirror and I'm like, I just think everything from the neck down especially is just like different. I just can't explain it to you. But it's really interesting because they're saying things like not just wrinkles in the way you look, but things like caffeine metabolism, right?
Yeah.
So last night, me and Gabe, we had a date night because the girls slept over their friend's house. And we decided, like, before we were driving over there, before we got dinner and stuff, we were like, we're going to get coffee, right? It was 3:30. We got coffee from Dunkin', okay? 3:30 is not really late, okay? We're going to bed, and we usually go to bed at, like, 10:30 at the latest, right? We're laying there, both of us, like, tossing, turning. Then it's 12 o'clock. I'm tossing and turning. I turn around. He's on his phone. I'm on my phone. Like, we're up all night, like, cracked out. And we're like, holy shit, it's because of the coffee. We drank coffee too late.
Well, you know what?
And that never happened before, you know?
Yeah, like, I used to think that, you know, because I worked at the restaurant for so long, I used to go to the Dunkin' across the street from my restaurant at 8 o'clock at night and get a coffee because I was having to be up so late. And I was like, I could always fall asleep. No problem, no problem, no problem. And I actually did something with the Oura Ring a couple months ago. They do these like mini tests. So I went 2 weeks without having a coffee 6 hours before my bedtime. And I noticed such a drastic difference when I did that. And even when I was at Dr. Farr recently, she told me that caffeine can stay in your system up to 10 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. Because I mean, I was sitting there because I'm very regular with things. And then I try to pinpoint like, well, what did I do differently? What did I eat? And then I was like, because I felt like I was like cracked out. And so did he. I was like, why aren't we sleeping? What happened? We didn't eat anything weird. And then we're like, oh, that's what happened. We had coffee too late. So it happens with metabolism. So your fat distribution is just different. Like I kind of weigh the same amount that I've weighed for the past like 5 to 6 to 7 years. And like, I just look different. It's just weird. Like it's just not in the good places anymore. So it's really interesting. But it's also like, it makes me feel like better kind of that I'm not going nuts. I definitely have just been sitting there having these conversations with lots of people my age, just like, what the fuck is happening right now? So I'm glad that it happened, and I'm glad it's not, because I was like, if this shit happens every year for the next rest of my life, like this is going to be terrible. So I'm hoping that this study's right, and this is like going to be like another year of this weird time, and then I'm going to be cool till I'm 60 years old. I'm hoping.
Hopefully. All right. A middle school in Texas is banning students from wearing all black clothing, citing mental health concerns. How do you feel about this?
Well, considering that I usually wear all black like 90% of the time, really. So I always am wearing a piece of black every single day of my life. It's just it's like right now I'm wearing a light color shirt, but I have a black sweater that goes on top of it and black jeans and black shoes. I always wear black.
Well, I think this is really annoying because the letter they sent to parents said that wearing head to toe black was often associated with depression and mental health issues. I could see that they want to skew
I definitely have mental health issues.
Well, yeah. One thing
I can agree with that.
One thing I wanted to note was I wear more vibrant clothing than ever, and arguably I have worse mental health issues now than I did when I was a teenager wearing all black. This
is just so like 1995, like, oh, emo, dark clothes, depressed. I mean, come on, get with the times.
Exactly. I think it's very close-minded. I also thought one of the students they quoted in this article said it best, which that person said, making students wear a different color isn't going to magically make them a completely different person. And I'm like, yeah, that says it all. I also have personal experience with this where I remember being in high school and I was wearing all black and I was wearing, like gory horror movie t-shirts and emo band t-shirts, and I was listening to My Chemical Romance and songs about like slitting your wrist and stuff. It didn't mean I wanted to slit my wrist. I just liked the way the music sounded, and I didn't appreciate, not you, some people in my life being like, you're going to have problems one day because you listen to this. Like, all my problems are from other issues.
I don't know. And it says that it also can imply that a person's a criminal too.
I just think it's ridiculous.
I wear black because I feel like it. I just feel like it matches for me for everything. It's kind of a neutral for me, and also it just is more flattering of a color. Like if I wore white pants, you would see like the ripples of my cellulite underneath of my white pants.
Well, that was the other argument I was going to make, is strictly from a fashion standpoint, it matches pretty much everything except navy blue, as we say. Please don't mix the two.
I hate navy blue.
And it is incredibly flattering on all body types and everything. And it's just, it's easy to get. You can go to any store and get a black piece of clothing and have it look nice on your body. I just think it's ridiculous to ban. And they're like, well, we're not banning them from wearing it at all, just not head to toe. Like, what?
It's so arbitrary, and it's so controlling and weird, and it also makes you think like honestly, these people just don't have anything else to write a policy about.
Yeah,
what studies are they citing or situations they're citing that there's going to be an increased risk of problems associated with kids wearing black? It's something I feel like I would have heard in high school. It's just kind of weird.
I feel like Texas is a very religious state, and they have very old school values, and I feel like it's coming from that place, of that mentality.
That's what it sounds like the whole you must be a Satan worshiper if you wear black.
Yeah, and it's like, no, it's just easy to get, and it matches everything, and I could be a dirtball teenager and not wash my pants for 2 weeks and wear it with
that's another thing too,
so.
because sometimes I'll wear jeans for a couple days, right? But I go outside and I do my gardening, not heavy gardening, just watering plants, but I'll pick flowers or whatever, pick the dead flowers off, and I wipe my hands on my pants. So if I was wearing light colored pants, I'd have dirt stains on the side, but they're not really dirty. I only wore them for 5 minutes outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like this is a very old school, hardcore Christian belief that if you wear all black, you must be depressed and worship Satan, when it's I'm just trying to dress like everybody else. So relax. I just think it's so ridiculous. Okay, our next story. There is a new eating disorder on the rise called orthorexia. What is this?
So orthorexia is not labeled in the DSM-5 book yet as a mental health disorder, like you would see something like anorexia or bulimia or something like that. But they're starting to see an increase of it, so they are considering it possibly being listed as a true mental health condition. And it's when a person has an obsessive eating disorder that involves wanting to eat clean, healthy food to the point where it isolates them from friends, because, you can't go out to certain restaurants if they don't have what you want, and you can't do this and you can't do that. And it also they're not even getting their nutritional value because they've just convinced themselves that everything they're eating has to be super clean and pure.
Yeah, and I think we all know somebody in some way that participates this, thinking they're better than you because all they eat is whole foods and everything that's good. And if you eat a processed food, then you don't know what's good for your body. And it's just with everything, balance is key. It's okay to have processed food as long as that's not all you're eating, and it's okay to have all whole foods as long as that's not all you're eating, because they're saying a lot of times this leads to deficiencies and people just having completely unhealthy eating habits, thinking they're doing the right thing, and it's not easily recognizable because you're eating healthy, so people don't really realize how extreme people are with it.
Yeah, and they're saying that the biggest increase has happened obviously since social media has been a thing, and they think that people that are most common to get it, they say, are people who use Instagram and people who are nutrition students and people that tend to exercise more than others. And I have noticed this actually. This piece of hair is crazy right now. I've noticed this on Instagram that there's a lot of these posts that come up that are saying they'll show you like things that, of course, that you like feed your kids. Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, Lucky Charms, this and that. And while I agree, and I have chilled out with especially any foods that have red dye in it like that, like because that dye is not legal in Europe and in other countries as well. And it's a known carcinogen. So like if my kids wanted to have a bowl of Lucky Charms once in a while at a friend's house, I don't care, but I'm not giving them that shit every single day. Anything that has red dye in it, I'm just like, it's not good, right? But there's posts like that on every single thing, like certain oils and certain chemicals that are in food. And it's like, if you really look at your food labels, like almost everything that you eat is preserved. So it is better to eat. But even like you eat chicken breast from the grocery store is usually altered with hormones and antibiotics and stuff like that. So, but when you see all these posts, certain people really get like scared to eat anything because they think every single thing that's not pure is tainted. And it's just very hard to come across food that's all grown from a non-genetically modified source and all of this stuff. It's just it's hard. And it's kind of, if it's enabling your life and your ability to like have friends and socialize and stuff, then it's a problem, you know?
Well, we all know that person too that's like, this like has agave in it. Is that okay? And it's like, yeah, bitch, I ate 5 donuts this morning. Like, I don't care. You have to live your life too at some point. You can't just, what's the point of eating this healthy all the time? Like you can get hit by a car any day, or you could still get a terminal disease.
People could do what they want to do ultimately. Like,
yeah, but
I don't care. I see where it's coming from though, because I do see these posts and I'm like, oh my God. And I just sent one to Gabe the other day because everything in this particular video with this terrible shit in it was like things that we have, 5 things that we have in the house right now. And I'm like, some of them are like the milks, like because we have to drink lactate milk. Like these special milks are bad. This is bad. This protein drink's bad. This, you know what I mean? And you're just like, it's the problem with the internet is that you get bombarded by information all the time. And like 90% of it is from just like randos who are posting it. It's like not even like legit scientific information,
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get started with other death news.
Last week, police were called to Chicago O'Hare International Airport because a woman had been pinned in machinery in Terminal 5. So the woman was not a worker there, and they really weren't sure what happened. And at first, it appeared to be an accident, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I thought. Because I one time saw a guy when we were getting our baggage. A guy's had one of those, those like backpacks that are made out of like a drug rug, they're called. I don't know what that fabric that it's like potato sacky. Okay. So he had one of those bags on the conveyor belt that he must have checked, and like the loop of it got stuck in the carousel, right? When we were picking up the bags. And this guy like jumped on top of the machine and was like pulling it out. And I was just thinking like, God, you really should probably call someone who works here to turn it off, because you could get your hand or something stuck in there. It's really bad. So that's what I was thinking. It was something like that the lady somehow got stuck in it in the middle of the night and no one was around to help her or whatever. And here the story just gets very weird because she was in a restricted area. So it was a part that was only blocked off for airport employees. And then she went back there, got stuck in it somehow, wasn't found for hours, correct?
Yeah, they said on surveillance camera they saw her go back there at 2:27 in the morning. And I don't believe that emergency workers were called until 7:45 in the morning.
Yeah, and so then that whole story is weird. And then it comes out the next day or two after they did the autopsy that her cause of death was from asphyxia from hanging, because she killed herself by hanging. So I don't know if I don't even understand how they came to this conclusion. Obviously, they have the security footage and they just have the gross findings of what they found wrapped around her neck and how her body was found. And they probably did some kind of investigation and found out that she had this history of depression and suicidal ideations and stuff. I don't know. I just can't even... I can't really even imagine like why she would do this in this way. It's just very it's very interesting and unusual.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So more importantly, my question is how are people like easily just getting back there? Because they were saying that it seemed like she may have been trying to get access to secured areas. Like that's kind of, I guess there are back ways to go through the airport, like where the employees go and stuff, but a regular person really shouldn't even be able to get back there.
Well, that, and I've noticed the last couple times I've been at the airport that, this at Philly airport anyway, where you get dropped off to go into the airport before security, I feel like that area is not manned at all. And the same when you're out near baggage claim. It's like nobody's there watching anything.
Oh, I'm actually
Total free
surprised
reign.
about that. Because like where you're talking about where like the Ubers pick you up out front?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's to stop a person from just pulling up out front, getting out, and just going in and taking like someone's suitcase right off the bat and putting it in their car and driving?
Well, that happens all the time.
Does it?
Yeah. Not at Philly in particular, but that happens a lot.
I was thinking about that last time we're at Philly. I'm just kind of like, oh, so anybody could just take my bag right now? Like nobody works there ever. There's never a human.
Anytime I've had to check a bag, I'm sure anybody traveling with me besides my husband, because he's just used to it at this point, gets so frustrated with me because I'm always like, let's go right to baggage claim. And they're like, you have time. And because of stuff like that, I don't want somebody else taking my bag by accident. And I also don't want somebody just showing up and taking my bag, because half the time if I checked it, it's because I had to check it and I have stuff in there that I couldn't take on the carry-on. And I don't like ever checking a bag. So I get very antsy about it being there.
Okay, let's talk about our last story, deathbed regrets.
Yeah, so this article came out the other day interviewing hospital workers who shared some deathbed regrets that people had shared right before they died that they, stuck with them. I was getting really sad reading this for you.
Yeah, I was too, actually.
So in most of the cases, it was old people regretting things they didn't do in their life, like not getting, a certain level of education or not pushing, if they were working really hard at a company, not trying to have a family, something like that. In one case, this guy said he was really sad that he was all that was left. He had outlived everybody in his life and he just wanted to be back with his wife who died. That made me so upset to read.
Nanny Qualtieri said that actually. When she's mentioned that to me several times because she was my grandma was 99, right? She was a couple months short of 100 when she died, and she would say things like, everybody that I know has died, which you're kind of like, you know me, and I'm still fucking here for whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
but like, I understand, like, all of your parents, your brothers and sisters, your friends, everybody, like, in your circle, and now everyone that's left is younger, but I understand that.
Yeah, another case, one guy that was a farmer that had gotten melanoma said he wished he had worn a hat while he was working because that would have prevented him from getting the melanoma where it is. Another woman with breast cancer said the doctor suggested that she get a bilateral mastectomy and she didn't do that because she wanted to keep her breast, and then that ended up giving her the terminal cancer that killed her.
That was the really sad part about that case because she was only 40 and she wasn't married yet, and she just wanted to see if she wanted to keep a real breast because she thought that maybe that would have been important for whoever she ended up meeting. And then she ended up having this terrible cancer and never even getting married anyway, which is really sad.
Yeah, and then another one that I thought added a little humor to this super serious topic was somebody said, I should have eaten that fucking cake. They just wanted to eat the cake. So I don't know. This reminded me of our external exam with Jodie Wellman. She wrote the book You Only Die Once, and it's like that episode was really therapeutic, I feel like, for both of us, just really analyzing your life and seeing what's important, what's not, doing the things you want to do, because really you could die at any time, so you should be living your life if you have the ability to do the things you want to do and not being hesitant about doing them.
Yeah, another important thing that I picked up from this article was that a couple people, particularly women, were talking about being in a marriage, and the one woman was telling a nurse that she was a widow, and the nurse said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you miss him? And she said, no, I actually don't miss him. My marriage was horrible, and you just didn't get divorced back in the day or leave somebody.
Yeah.
That's not what you did, because she was older, in her 70s or whatever. And it's interesting because another person had said that too, like I wasted all this time staying with someone who's abusive, and now I have cancer all of a sudden. So like I didn't really get, basically saying like once I got rid of him and he died, then I ended up having cancer, and I never really enjoyed my life, and just important to like not stay with people that aren't treating you well, or being friends with people that don't treat you well, or anything like that. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, and everybody talking about work that was either like a high-end executive or something said they regretted how much they worked and didn't devote more time to their personal life. And
yeah, that was one thing that the medical professional said, that they never heard someone saying that they regretted not working enough.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people just asking for family, either wishing they had family, or the one CEO said that he like dedicated his entire life to his business, and not one person from the business showed up when he was on his deathbed. So that's also was a really interesting point.
Yeah, and that most people just didn't want to die alone. They just wanted somebody there, which is so sad to think about. Okay, on to questions of the day. Every Friday at the @MotherKnowsDeath Instagram account, that is today, you could head over to our story and ask a question. 1, when somebody dies and they have body piercings, does the examiner take them out?
No, I would never take them out unless it was in my way. And I've never taken one out, because we do, especially with body piercings and everything, usually they're on the head, but I guess there are other places too. And unless it was in the way of something, we would take it out. But I mean, a belly button ring, even, you could just go around that. Earrings, you don't need to worry about. Nose rings, you could just push it over to the side. Lip rings, you could push it over to the side. So I personally never have, but I'm sure in some circumstances they may want to. The only reason that I would take one out is if a person had an infection that looked like it was maybe a source of a larger infection, like a systemic, they have sepsis or something in their body, and you're trying to find the source of where the infection started. And if it looked like it was coming from the piercing, that might be a reason to take it out, because you would want to examine that area. But I mean, that like never happened. So I would usually I would say no. That would be something we would send the body over to the funeral home in that condition, and then the funeral director could decide what they're going to do about that.
All right. Do your younger daughters want to do the same kind of work as you?
I don't think so, honestly. They do show interest in being involved in our business, as far as like the things we talk about. They send me videos from YouTube sometimes and say like, hey, can you talk about this? Or they ask me, their friends ask me, and things like that. But as far as being a PA and getting their hands dirty and actually working in the hospital, I don't think that either of them at this time. I don't know like what would happen, because I'm sure if you asked my mom when I was 9 and 11 years old, she wouldn't say that either. So it seems like Lillian right now is 11, and she is interested in one of two things. One is she plays this Roblox game, and she's very interested in like making people houses.
That's exactly how I was with The Sims. I didn't care about the game per se. I just loved building the houses in the towns.
So you want to hear something really cool though? Like, people on there ask her to make houses for them because they like her houses so much.
Wow, that's awesome.
She has, so I think that's cool. And I mean, obviously I'm old, so I did that with Lego houses. I used to make Lego houses because there was no computer programs, but then you had Sims. And I mean, we both love to decorate, and I think we have a good like house style thing. So maybe that's something she would want to get into. But Lillian also is very good with children, especially ones that have intellectual disabilities. She just has this like tolerance and ability and understanding and patience with them for certain kids that we know in our life that, that hang around with our family or whatever. So I think that there's a possibility that she could work in that field, but she's kind of like you. Like, she gets grossed out pretty easily over things.
Yeah.
And then Lucia is like, right now she's telling everyone that she wants to be a fashion designer, and she started learning how to sew.
She's
so
really
like
good at it though. Like
yeah, she is.
The other day, she brought down a stuffed animal that said she needed to do surgery on it because its arm was falling off. And then she had us thread the needle for her, and then she just went on the couch and did it. And I thought she did a pretty good job for being 9 years old and never really sewing before.
Yeah, we just gave her like 2 tips and like she did it and hooked it up. So, and now she got a Build-A-Bear yesterday because she had to get an MRI. So I let her get a Build-A-Bear, and it's a frog, so it doesn't have a tail. So the little pants she bought for it has like a hole in the butt for the tail.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm going to sew this up. And I was like, go ahead. That's cool.
Yeah. And
you know,
the day they came over my house and I was showing them how to embroider, I mean, Lillian was just too all over the place as usual to do it. But Lulu really killed it. She did a really good job.
Yeah, she did. I have her little piece of embroidery here too.
All right, the last question. What is your favorite quote from a TV or movie?
That's a hard one.
Our family
I didn't really even think about this one, and I don't want to yeah, what are you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say our family are heavy movie quoters. We pretty much the entire movie of Christmas Vacation we quote all the time.
We do say very often today, Junior.
Yeah.
when the kids
From
don't
Billy
spit out their
Madison.
words. Yeah, I love, I mean, like, it just depends on what you're thinking, because I swear it's just like we always say this one from Austin Powers, like we'll put, like, I don't know, Gabe will say something and I'll just say pretty standard, really.
Yeah,
that was like one with Kara too that we used to do. But like things from Moonstruck, I say snap out of it a lot. I say you know, I love when the mom's just like asking her if she loves him, and then she's just like, oh yeah, I love him, Ma. And she's like, oh, that's too bad. You know, that's awesome. I love certain things like that, but I don't know. There's probably one that's like blatantly obvious that I'm just not thinking of, because we're always texting, just like my brother or something, or Gabe even, just all the time, like movie quotes. So
yeah, I would say when I'm trying to convey something that's ridiculous, I'll quote Arrested Development when Lucille Bluth says, "What could a banana cost? $10?" And then my two recent favorite ones. I mean, I would say half my vernacular is just quoting movies and TV shows, but I really like this one from Deadwood that was, "You can't fuck the future fucks you," which I thought was brilliant. And then I just recently watched every season of Entourage, and they're trying to convey how douchey somebody's being. So the guy goes, "I don't make movies, I make films." Which I feel like wraps up my entire art school experience and how people treat, like, you're not that important, relax. So
wait, you just posted that on your story?
I posted it today.
I was like, I just saw that today. That's so weird. Duh.
I posted it today because I saw the question when we were doing prep, and then Ricky and I have been quoting it to each other nonstop the past couple weeks, because it's like the delivery of it is so perfect. It's just so funny. So
we always do too, like Godfather stuff too, like when we talk to the kids, like, you keep this in the family and stuff like that, and like, you know, things like that. So I don't know.
There's another quote from Arrested Development too, where Michael Cera was dating this girl, and like everybody thought she was boring and nobody liked her, and they would just keep going, "Her?" So I say that a lot too. But
oh my god,
yeah, I mean, there's so many that we say it's like impossible to even keep track of, especially when you and I are talking to Louie. I feel like,
what about from Goonies? We say like, kids suck.
Yeah, kids,
you know, like there's so many, we can't name them all.
There are so many. And really quick before we wrap up, I want to tell everybody, the other day we had ordered lunch, and then you were giving everybody their food out of the bag, and you were like, "Ew, what is this?" And
oh my god.
There was a cotton ball with blood on it, which we were like, no way that we've reported all these stories and this is happening to us.
It was like a blood work cotton ball from someone's arm in the bag, and I was giving it to my dad. He was like, wanted the Chick-fil-A sauce or whatever. And I'm like, here. And I was like, oh my God, where did this come from? And Gabe got blood work in the morning. So then I was like, well, maybe it's Gabe's. But then I'm like, well, why would that be in there? Like, I was so confused. But then I asked him, and he was the one that got the food for us and then brought it to us. So he's like, it's mine. Sorry, I just put it in there with the trash. And I'm like, thank God, because I was like, what are the chances that happened when we just talked about that story? Because how gross would that be if that was like an employee's blood work thing? I mean, it's gross that it was Gabe's, honestly, but he put it in the bag with like the straws and stuff, so it wasn't near the food, but still, it's like, why would you do that, dude? It doesn't make any sense.
Disgusting. All right, so thank you guys so much. Don't forget to submit your shocking story to stories@motherknowsdeath.com. And if you have a question for us, today's the day. Head over to our Instagram and put one in the little question box in our story.
All right, thanks. Have a good weekend. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.